Okay, I'd like to call to order the Santa Fe Public Schools Board of Education, December 19, 2024, regular meeting at 5:30 p.m. We'll start with a pledge of allegiance and salute the New Mexico flag, and then our acknowledgement of tribal land. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Juro fidelidad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico as the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Saludo la bandera del Estado de Nuevo México, el símbolo del Día de Amistad Perfecta entre culturas unidas. We acknowledge that our Board of Education meeting is taking place on occupied indigenous land. We acknowledge the Tesuque Pueblo lands and other tribal lands on which we stand. We honor these people, past, present, and future. We acknowledge the history and ongoing colonization of where we are sitting right now in New Mexico and in our country. We acknowledge our own place in the story of colonization. Okay, approval of the agenda. Are there any changes, Mr. Superintendent?
Good evening, Board of Education, team members, those in the audience. No changes to the agenda this evening.
Okay, anything from the board? Can I have a motion regarding the agenda?
I move approval of the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Introduction of interpreter.
Para asistencia de traducción en español, la señora Rivera te ayudará.
Thank you. Okay, we are on item 3, which is public forum.
Thank you, Board President Abeta, members of the board. Taking us through public forum this evening is our Executive Director of Communication, Mr. Joe Abeta.
Let me get to see if anybody is here before I read. We have 2 speakers today, so I will go over the ground rules here real quick. Public forum includes online and/or virtual participation as needed, as well as in-person comments when the board holds in-person meetings. Please listen and speak with respect. No uncivil conduct will be permitted. Please do not discuss any specific student who is not your own. No sharing of time. Self-monitor and observe the 3-minute time limit. I will give you a 30-second warning when your time is almost up. Public commentary and dialogue are allowed only during the public forum, not throughout the meeting. Please search for answers on common ground. You may speak on any topic, whether it's on the agenda or not. Your input will be taken into consideration. Please be advised that the board may discuss your issue during the meeting, but by law, the board cannot take action on items that are not on the agenda. Please do not discuss employee matters which may result in disciplinary action. Instead, notify the employee supervisor, the Human Resources Department, or the superintendent. And with that, I'd like to bring up our first speaker. Is it Garen Spray or Jaren Spray? Garen? Garen, come on down.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Garen Spray. I teach history at Capitol High School. I'm a level 3 teacher with 25 years of experience in the classroom, most of those years in Santa Fe Public Schools. I'm here to talk to you tonight about the massive problem that is E-2020 in our public schools. You need to understand that E-2020 is a joke, it is a farce, it is a complete fraud. There are now websites and add-ons that students can use to get all of the answers to every single question in E2020. All they need to do is copy and paste those answers from the websites into E2020. They don't need to do any work. They don't need to acquire any knowledge. They don't need to demonstrate any proficiency. They don't ever need to pass a class, pass a test, or turn in a single assignment. All students need to do now in E2020 is copy and paste. Students are given their diplomas, and I choose the word given carefully, not earn. They are given their diplomas for a few clicks of a mouse. Many of our diplomas then are fraudulent. E2020 undermines everything we do in the academic classrooms, including standards-based grading. One of the many reasons teachers hate standards-based grading so much is because we know that it's completely irrelevant and inconsequential and futile. This is not hyperbole. Students will sit in our academic classes for 9 months and never lift a finger. They will tell us to our faces that they won't do the work because they'd rather get the credit through E2020. Instead of 9 months of academic rigor, students can complete a course in a few days with E2020. Students can use it to graduate early without ever having gone to their senior level classes. Standards-based grading, please. Santa Fe Public Schools effectively has no standards if students are allowed to graduate without meeting them. E2020 leads to artificially inflated graduation rates. And make no mistake about it, our graduation rates are artificially inflated. How is it that our proficiency scales in reading and math hover at or below 20%, but our graduation rate is 83%? That's bad math, and a lot of that is due to E2020. If Santa Fe Public Schools is serious about educating kids, then it will drastically reduce or eliminate access to E2020. Ask yourselves, would you want your kids attending schools that will give them free diplomas without ever having to learn a thing? If it's not good enough for your kids, it's not good enough for anyone's kids. Thank you for your time.
Okay, next up is Winter Stone. There you go, Winter. There you go. Yep.
Hi, my name is Winter Stone, and I am a 7th grader at ATC Charter School, and I was wondering if you could renew it. Due to it being a really great school, you have a lot of freedom to what you can do, lots of different things you can choose. The teachers are awesome. The principal is awesome. Everything there is just nice. You can walk around. The lunch is pretty good. And it's just a nice place to go to. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Stone. Good job.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that that completes our in-house or in-person speakers. I have now 4 emails that were brought in or sent in. So let me go ahead and restart this. Okay. First one, my name is Eric Braden. I am a nationally board certified teacher in my 10th year teaching at Capitol High School. I write to you today regarding 2 significant concerns that I have that are iterated. First, cell phone usage is completely unmanageable. Have you ever tried to take a device away from a technology addicted child? Most likely, they pitch a fit. Now imagine that there are 160 of those children add in hormones, noise-canceling earbuds, and all the world's information, entertainment, and communication. That is too much for any human, let alone a developing mind, to self-regulate. Just in the last few days alone, I have had multiple 17-year-old students on sports betting apps at 8:40 in the morning. Others video chatting with other students in other schools, planning and recording fights, playing wildly inappropriate multiplayer online video games, streaming Netflix and other video apps. And lest I forget, filming possession of a gun that was mere feet away from my classroom. Adolescent minds cannot be taught responsible use of technology by teachers who have so many other things to juggle already. We need support in school-wide bans of cell phones. We are not able to compete with the highly paid and extremely talented attention engineers of Silicon Valley. Second, our online credit recovery programs undermine every aspect of education, including especially the district's push to standards-based teaching and learning. It is an open secret among our school staff and students that E2020 is incredibly easy and truly the opposite of standards-based. There is no accountability in E2020. Answers are easily Googleable and now also answerable with a simple AI add-on. Written responses are greenlit to pass regardless of what they write. It doesn't just hurt the students currently enrolled in this doesn't just hurt the students currently enrolled in E2020 courses. It rots the in-class experience as well. Why should a student who is on the fringe of being motivated to pass their classes? They all know that they can recover the credit in mere days. Worse, many students who just want to graduate early, who may have had a lot to gain from in-person school, are being given permission to test out of classes merely because they don't want to be in school, want a partial schedule, or some other pretty insignificant excuse. The students themselves will tell you this openly. And that is time. Okay. Let me hit the time here. Here we go. Good evening, board members, Superintendent Chavez, and Santa Fe community. As this semester that sent this in. As this semester at Santa Fe High School concludes, I would like to take a moment to address the increased stress, aggravation, and disappointment the standards-based grading continues to yield. At the end of the semester, it becomes apparent how little the majority of our effort counts to our final grades. The way the system is playing out, for yet another year where only your 3 most recent assignments count per standard catastrophically increases the end, I hope I said that right, guys, sorry, increase the end of the semester stress for all students. This leads to students who already met the standards grades dropping when it does not accurately reflect their overall performances. Today's board meeting marks a year of my first complaint over this system. With all this time, you would think there would be more improvement. Highly unfortunate. I firmly believe that this system is to the detriment of all students and teachers, especially those with learning disabilities, testing anxiety, or facing extenuating circumstances during finals week. I am currently a senior, and my peers and I have been facing the consequences of your decisions for years. As I am soon to leave, all I can hope is that the grades below me can experience the Santa Fe High that I loved, the Santa Fe High before standards-based grading. I hope you all have a good evening. Alette Hansen. Okay, this one is from Lisa Longtag. ATC serves an important niche in the educational ecosystem of Santa Fe for many reasons. Firstly, it is an ideal size. As a teacher in Santa Fe for more than 25 years, I can attest to the importance of small class sizes. ATC has maintained a healthy enrollment without compromising the ability of its teachers to build community and provide individual feedback and authentic learning opportunities. One of my favorite things about ATC as a parent is that the teachers know my son. They know all the students, which seems like a little thing, but it is essential in building in a safe learning environment. Wait a minute, did I skip that? Knowing my son that the students, which seems like a little thing, but it is essential in building a safe learning environment. I did get that right. One in which every student can identify an adult that they can turn to and count on. This factor is a key in developing mature young adults who make good decisions. The future of Santa Fe is literally counting on this to happen and should therefore be grateful for ATC's model. Secondly, ATC has developed a rigorous curriculum that meets the needs of diverse learners. Not only are the instructors highly qualified, but exercise important autonomy in developing lessons, often project-based and applicable to real-world situations. Yet, meeting state and national requirements and by making AP and honors courses accessible to all. I truly feel that my son will graduate with skills that will help him accomplish whatever goals he determines, both academic skills and interpersonal skills that have fostered intellectual curiosity and an ability to navigate the increasingly complicated world in which we all participate. Finally, ATC meets so many thresholds of an exemplary school while working with bare bones facilities and services. So sad that they don't have a library. They're still able to provide extracurricular activities, clubs, and experiential learning opportunities, all the while engaging and communicating with all stakeholders. I have not always been a fan of charter schools, concerned that they are a disadvantage of other public schools, but ATC has changed my mind in regards to educational equity and the advantages that a small school can offer students. Furthermore, ATC is far more diverse community of students than one might assume represented a cross-section of Santa Fe due to the lottery enrollment system. Sorry, I just want to do that last one because I kind of fumbled on some stuff, so. All right. I haven't done this much public speaking in a very long time. Okay. Okay, let's see here. All right. To the members of the Santa Fe Public School Board, we are writing, why am I having a hard time seeing this? We are writing to thank you and commend you for making one of your 2 locally determined graduate requirements a full-year course in financial literacy. With this vote, you are ensuring that Santa Fe students will be on equal footing with the 53% of students nationwide whose states and schools districts now require financial literacy education. When parents and guardians send a child to school, the hope and expectation is that their student will have, I can't read this is too light. Hold on a sec. Oh yeah, okay, cool.
If you can't make out the text, you can forward us the emails.
I got it. When parents and guardians send a child to school, the hope and expectation is that the student will leave with skills and knowledge that they will need to reach their life goals. Whether that is paying for college or job training, buying a house, or even starting a business, financial literacy will play an essential part at every step of the way. Studies have shown that when a student increases their financial literacy, they shift from the highest cost to the low-cost sources of credit and student loans and are 21% less likely to carry a balance on a credit card. The New Mexico Legislative Finance Committee reported that after financial education was mandated in the states of Georgia, Idaho, and Texas, Students who participated in the programs had higher credit scores and higher saving rates. Your commitment to listening to your community and acting on their feedback is a shining example of how communities can work together to improve the well-being of your students and families. We hope that other districts along the state will follow your lead. Think New Mexico applauds your school community it says Think New Mexico, I think it meant thank, but Think New Mexico applauds your school community, Superintendent Chavez, and the school board for ensuring that every Santa Fe Public Schools graduate will be equipped with essential financial literacy skills and knowledge, relevant learning that will last your students a lifetime. Please let us know if we can support your efforts by connecting Santa Fe teachers with resources, sample curricula, or free high-quality professional development. Sincerely, Fred Nathan Jr. And that completes public forum.
Okay, thank you. Item number 4 on our agenda is a union update. Is there anybody here from the union?
Thank you, Board President. Abeyta, does not look like we have our union president this evening.
Okay, item 5 is board announcements and follow-up. Anything from the board?
Thank you, President Abeyta. I just wanted to mention that primarily because my student is in orchestra at El Dorado Community School, I attended the middle school orchestra concert last Thursday evening and was just incredibly impressed. For the first time in the 10 years that Mr. Higgins has been there, the 6th grade orchestra has a strong enough foundation to play songs on their own without the support of the 7th and 8th graders, and they did a really good job. And, you know, my daughter's in 8th grade now, and I've been listening to her play every year. You know, they're just improving by leaps and bounds, and they did their auditions for Santa Fe High School Chamber Orchestra this week online, and so I just kudos to the music department. I'm proud of the support that we give to fine arts in our district, and it's really shining when you watch our students play. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, superintendent announcements and follow-up.
Thank you, Board President Abeyta, members of the board, those joining us tonight. Just 3 quick updates. We'll bring her in on at one of our January meetings, but we have a new interim CFO. It is our deputy CFO, Beverly Aguilar. We still have the position posted. We are still recruiting. It is a very unique position. They need to have not only financial skills, but they have to understand school budget. And so we'll continue to actively recruit, but Beverly Aguilar will be the new interim CFO come January. As many of you know, State of the Schools is out. We've done it a little differently this year. 5 little mini segments. Maybe it's a little easier to watch 5 segments than one 30-minute segment. Want to congratulate the board. Thank you guys for your participation. Mr. Joe Abeyta for producing it. I think you'll find them very interesting. They're on YouTube and our social media channels. And then last but not least, and it was carried by KRQE 13, we launched Teen Mental Health First Aid, and our principals over there from Capitol High will help us with House Bill 171 tonight, which will equip students, and these were freshmen that were taking the class, with essential skills to recognize and respond to mental health challenges among their peers. Again, it's the first year that we've started this program at Capitol High, and we're hoping to reach all 350 freshmen at Capitol High this year. We'll reevaluate after the school year and see if that should be spread out across the district. So again, want to thank Ms. Holliday over there and her staff for really being a great partner and trying to pilot something that I think is much needed across the entire state.
Great, thank you. Any follow-up from the board? Yeah, Board Member Bozay.
Thank you, President Abeyta. Yes, I just wanted to say that I have really appreciated this new format for State of the Schools. It's fun, it's easy to digest, and you did a great job with that, Joe, and the rest of the team. It's been really enjoyable to watch, and again, just a big amount of gratitude for the teen mental health first aid. I've spent a lot of time reading about the various programs and talking with the Office of Student Wellness, in our various meetings. And I think, that's a program that shows a lot of really good promise. And thank you for being willing to push that through. And I hope it gives immediate benefit to the students. Thanks again.
Okay, we are on to board discussion and possible action. A, our capital outlay requests and board priorities.
Thank you, Board President DeBeta. As you know, we have our legislative breakfast January 9th. And so, we can take this time to discuss any priorities board members have. We'll do a great job of putting together a packet for our delegations we can present, and then any capital outlay requests. So again, I know I've been in communication with you guys around this, but we're open to have dialogue and listen and bring forward any priorities you think is important to represent Santa Fe Public Schools.
Okay, anything from the board on this topic? Dr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President, Superintendent, members of the board. I just finished a Leo Ready Career Readiness Grant that was for Santa Fe High, and Jose helped me a lot with the grant, getting me data and stuff. So that's been put in. Huh?
You're still writing grants?
Yes, you can't quit,
Vice President Noble.
I'm going to have to digest that for a little bit. I don't know. Above and beyond. So I don't know if there's been any opportunity to discuss this with our lobbyist, Linda Siegel, but it strikes me that healthcare premium increases is a very big conversation, as is out-of-school time funding of the things here. These are, I think, Dr. Gonzalez maybe can correct me if I'm wrong if she knows, but things that have pretty massive across the system impacts. So I don't quite know how we think about that. I think, work-based learning feels a little more contained, but ultimately, the exercise is always sort of getting our legislative priorities right, both in terms of capital outlay asks, which it looks like we have a pretty good potential list that even in its entirety, to me, doesn't look too big, given where we are now. But the other stuff, I would love to think about, in terms of what realistically the legislature is going to be taking up. And, again, healthcare premium increases, we do it very differently, I think, from the rest of the state. So that's a heavy lift. And basically, I guess I'd say I don't want us to burn our political capital on something that's kind of a non-starter. And we're coming from such a unique position anyway. So as much as that is great, do we need to just advocate for greater funding to be in the SEG and that sort of thing? And anyway, I appreciate the list. I know work-based learning is a big one for us, and we are seeing the end of that with the end of some of the stimulus money. But again, some of these other things I think are big system improvements, and knowing whether they're bills and what the overall cost to the entire state education system might be an important lens in terms of as we hone in on what the legislative priorities are that are somewhat separate from the capital priorities. Thank you.
If I could just add to that comment, I agree with you 100%. So last legislative session, there was an allocation for out-of-school time funding, which got vetoed out. And I think they're trying to bring that back in for this upcoming legislative session. There are conversations about healthcare premiums going up, potentially as high as 20%. If you remember when we went through our exercise during our study session, if it was 15% increase to premiums and the raise for educators in general was 3%, it was not going to cover the difference. So I think that's important because for the last 2 days during hearings throughout both LESC and the executive and PED, they've been talking about 3% raises. They have not really put a number to benefits yet. So I think that's just something for us to keep our eyes on. If you remember, the executive, I think, allocated $35 million to reduce premiums from 15% to 10%, which really helped cover, with that 3%. But that's something that, and I've been talking to both deputies about that, because when we come to negotiations, that's always some kind of sticking point when we go forward. But, I agree. I think out-of-school time funding is key, because it has shown great results for us. The attendance and participation has gone up each and every year. And again, I think as we're working with PED, trying to find access points as far as funding for work-based learning is, an ongoing effort. I think the other thing, just to bring up real quickly, in January of this year, there was a return to work clause that sunsetted. If you set out 1 year, you could return for unlimited years. Currently, the law is 90 days for up to 3 years. And that's something, I think there's a bill coming forward potentially where we could support, because it would help fill vacancies. It would help individuals return back to previous positions and really move forward as far as having a certified licensed teacher in front of every one of our students. So just some thoughts about that. And, I think there's potential, and there's some potential bills coming forward.
Board Member Heffron.
Thank you, President Abeyta. I'm very much supportive of summer programming. We've been, unfortunately, lucky and unlucky. In other words, because of COVID, we were then granted ESSER funds, which were heavily used for our summer programming. Those ESSER funds are drying up. And I'm concerned that we need to definitely be pushing for more funding for our summer programming, which was, as you said, Superintendent, was very successful, multiple courses. Kids came 1 year and then the next year, and they loved it. Out-of-school time funding seems to me to fit in also for this big push for STEM training of our students. If they can't get it always in school, then they can get STEM training in the summer programs. I would hope that that also is funded or included in summer programming. I also would like to say that as a new board member, I was really shocked when I found out that attendance scores around the state included whether you were excused or unexcused. So in other words, when I discovered that the football team travels, or the girls' basketball team travels, or kids leave school early that day to go to science fairs, whatever the initiative was that they were going to leave the campus and go attend, imagine attending an art fair, a science fair that your school is helping you attend and sponsor, and you've done projects that you're presenting there, and suddenly your excused absence is included with those who were unexcused, who didn't bother to show up at all that day, much less work on a project or attend any class. So in other words, when we look at attendance scores across the state, it's impossible for me to understand how can you include these kids who are working on projects, who are in clubs, who are in activities, and they are absolutely attending school and school-sponsored functions. And they're included in that statistic that shows that we have terrible attendance percentages. The good news for us in Santa Fe, as we experienced last weekend at the school board annual convention in Albuquerque, it was announced by the there that Santa Fe was the district that had a 22% decrease in absentees in that past year. That's great, but I'm still concerned that if we're decreasing by 22%, fantastic, But are we still including the kids on those projects with the kids who just don't want to show up? You know, the kids who want to take an E2020 class, shall I say, eventually. So in other words, I'm all for changing the attendance ratings and how we project to the public what our attendance really is. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Gonzalez.
Excuse me. Mr. President, I was just going to comment on the return to work. Today, there was quite a bit of discussion in the LESC meeting, and I'm sure there's going to be a bill for that. They understand that we are short of teachers, and we need teachers, good teachers. So I think we'll be safe there.
If I can make a comment to both, and Board Member Heffron, completely agree. You know, within our own internal systems, we do excuse those absences, but that's internally. Those absences, unexcused or excused, when they get reported to the state, count as one. And so I think attendance rates across the state are not accurately reflecting those who are actually chronically absent, right? And when we say that, that is 10% of the total number of days in your academic calendar. Excessive absences is 20%, but again, all of it adds up. And one full day, let's just say somebody misses 2 periods of class. Once they get to 7 periods of class, that counts as 1 day. So it's hard to understand. You know, I want to thank Crystal Ibarra, the entire team, her attendance coaches, because they're making a difference with getting students back into school. And then again, return to work, I think, is something that would help us feel. As of today, we only have 19 teacher vacancies out of 850. So, you know, that would help us shore that up. But again, we're a fortunate district that doesn't have a lot of teacher vacancies.
Okay. Our next item is 7B, Organization of Board Officers.
Thank you, Board President Debata. And again, this is just to bring to your guys' attention. We typically, every January, start talking about where everybody's going to sit, officer responsibilities and roles, and then you guys make the decision and vote on who's going to be president, vice president, and secretary. So again, this was just to be brought up for discussion, be brought up so you guys are aware that it's on the radar for the next month.
Okay, any comments, Vice President Noble?
I think this might be a comment I made when it appeared on the agenda, but ultimately, I think it's in our policy that we do this the first meeting of a new year. So there's that, and I think it's completely at our discretion, by and large, but that is the policy, which is just something worth having on the radar.
Okay, we are at action items. The first is item 8A, the Academy for Technology and the Classics, ATC Charter Renewal Application.
Thank you, Board President Debata, members of the board, leading us tonight through this renewal presentation is Executive Director to my office, Mr. Howard Exner, and I will turn it over to you. Usually you don't hear him speak until budget comes around, but he did lead this project. Part of his responsibility is to help assist and work with ATC, our only district authorized charter. So, Mr. Exner.
Thank you. President Debata, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez, good evening. As indicated, we are here to present the charter renewal application for our lone district charter, the Academy for Technology and the Classics. And by way of a little bit of background information, there are 99 charter schools in the state of New Mexico. 60 of those 99 are authorized by the Public Education Commission, which is a 10-member elected body from regions of the state. The other 39 charters are district authorized charters, and I think it's interesting to note that of the 39, 29 of those are authorized by APS, Albuquerque Public Schools. So that leaves 10 other district authorized charters. 2 of those 10 are authorized by the Taos School District, and the other 8 are singletons from around the state, including Santa Fe. By law, the charters must be renewed every 5 years, and that is what brings us here tonight. Our role as a district authorizer is to review the school's evidence of progress on the academic, organizational, and fiscal performance frameworks that were agreed upon in the charter. The renewal process is really fairly simple. The charters are required to submit their renewal applications to their authorizer, whether that's the PEC or a school district, by October 1st each year, which ATC did. That application was divided up and shared with members of the cabinet for them to review the area of the charter that aligned with their area of expertise. And we'll take a look at who those people were and what they reviewed in a few moments. After their review, we went back to ATC, asked for some additional documentation and artifacts, which they provided to us between that time and November 4th. And finally, on November 21st, the final application was submitted, and we are here tonight to recommend your action on that application. So the slide that's on the screen now will show who the cabinet members are who took part in the review process. Academic performance was reviewed by Beata Thorstensen, our Chief Assessment for Learning and School Improvement Officer. Organizational performance was divided into 3 sections, those being educational program, governance responsibilities, and equity and identity. And they were respectively reviewed by Deputy Superintendent Vanessa Romero, General Counsel Josh Granata, and our Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer, Crystal Ibarra. Financial performance was likewise divided into 2 sections, business operations, which was reviewed by our CFO, Robert Martinez, and our Deputy Superintendent, Christy Wagner, took care of the facilities and operations portion of that. Part of their application required petitions of support from their faculty as well as the households who were sending their children to the school. I reviewed that section. And finally, our safety and security section was reviewed by our Executive Director of School Security, Mario Salbidres. And now I'd like to introduce ATC Principal Jason Morgan, who's going to share a few things about the school and the students and staff there. Jason.
All right. Thank you, Howard, and good evening, President Abeta, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. I first just want to say thank you. Thank you for your role as board members. That is a hefty obligation. And thank you for taking the time to deliberate on and review our charter application. I hope you enjoyed it. I also just want to congratulate Superintendent Chavez and district staff. I have been in public education here in Santa Fe for a little over 23 years, and both in the district and district adjacent. Within the past 5 years working with Dr. Chavez, I just see a constellation of strong positive signals of excellent things happening, most recently of which I'm so happy for Capitol High School and the Teen Mental Health First Aid Program. That's a terrific certification program, and I hope that down the road it leads to more people working in mental health fields, which is, one of many critical needs. But all around the district, I see good things happening, and I'm really appreciative of our collaboration and partnership with Santa Fe Public Schools. So what I prepared for tonight was just some fun facts kind of related to our charter application. As it indicates, our mission is college prep, and our program is built around an AP for All focus. And over the course of the current term, from 2020, 2021 school year till now, I've highlighted here, each year we graduate quite a few first-generation college attendees. This is really an equity focus of our school mission. Our job is to make college possible for anyone, regardless of circumstance. And we are very pleased with the efforts we have in that regard. We also, and I think a huge opportunity for first-gen and low-income students is the New Mexico Davis Foundation Scholarship, and we've had really excellent effort from our staff and our faculty supporting students through that application process, and as such, we've had a great number of students earn the New Mexico Davis Scholarship. This year, it doesn't say it on the slide, but we had 28 of our 60 students who are seniors apply for the New Mexico Davis Foundation Scholarship. So it has really become sort of an embedded part of our culture. And as you can see there, our graduation rates have been strong throughout the current charter term. In fact, as I look back over the data that is available since New Mexico began publishing graduation rates in 2008, this past 5-year span has been the highest overall average graduation rate in any other 5-year span in the school's 20-year history, again, for the portions I have data. So I'm very proud of the work of our faculty and our students getting across that finish line. And then lastly, major kudos to our World Language Department staff who have seen and really cultivated a mindset around the seal of bilingualism and biliteracy. We have seen a tremendous growth in recent years of students earning that distinction on their diploma. This summer I was very pleased and proud to present along with one of our teachers at Teach Plus New Mexico's Innovation in Education Summit. We were awarded an Innovation in Education Award for improving high school graduation rates. So just some highlights there. As I'm, the other thing I want to point out is that I am tremendously blessed to work with an amazing faculty and staff. We have absolutely outstanding teachers who never cease to amaze me with the ways in which they stretch for their students. A few others have noticed. We are fortunate to have had 2 Golden Apple Award recipients in the current charter term, and thankful for district staff who helped us celebrate those teachers in our end-of-year celebrations. We've also had 2 VFW Teacher of the Year recipients. We've had a New Mexico Public Charter Schools Teacher of the Year recipient. We have a Milken National Teacher Award recipient, and 2 Partners in Ed teachers who inspire. And those are all different people. Like, that's not like one person doing all that stuff. So they are amazing. Again, as our faculty's will and skill with expanding students' potential is really just amazing, and I think it's the engine that drives it all for us. So again, I just wanted to offer a few highlights in addition to the renewal application itself, and I'm very thankful again for your engagement in our renewal process.
So in conclusion, there was a brief presentation for you tonight. You've seen the 18-page application, and if you look in front of the seat where I was standing, there's the other 185 pages of supporting documents, schedules, goals, just everything that we asked for from Principal Morgan. So our recommendation is that we renew the charter with the Academy for Technology and the Classics for the next 5-year period, which would begin on July 1st, 2025 and end on June 30th, 2030. And with that, we're available to stand for questions if you would like.
Okay, questions, comments from the board? Board Member Bozay.
Thank you so much. President Abeyta, this is a great presentation. Love those first-generation college attendee numbers. I'm curious, do you by chance follow to see how many graduate from college?
Thank you for that question, Board Member Bosé. We do. We saw an interruption in that data through the pandemic, so I don't have the most recent numbers. But we currently use a platform called SCORE to both sort of house all of our college admissions processing guidance, and we are looking at reconnecting with either the National Center for Education Statistics or some of the other resources out there to track alumni outcomes. The last or the most reliable data I have for that is we've seen with the students who would have graduated from college in 2019, That cohort, 80% finished within 4 years, 100% finished within 5 years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Vice President Noble.
Thank you. How many students graduate in an average class?
Typically right around 50, so 48, 52. This year's senior class is the largest that I have seen. It's 60 students. It's the first time where we've had to have like 3 sections of senior classes, so it was a little bit of a scheduling challenge, but typically somewhere in the low 50s is what we've typically had.
And how is the facility serving your needs in terms of size? I saw a note about the parking lot and drop-off in there, but what would you say generally about the physical plant of classrooms and the numbers of students you serve?
That's a great question, Board Member Noble. So in terms of capacity, the current facility meets the need. We have a couple of teachers who float, as they say, right? They share classrooms. But in that regard, we are meeting the need. Where I think our facility could use a lot of improvements is around program. We do have programs that lack proper facilities. As was mentioned in public comment, we don't have a library media center. Our, per high school adequacy standards, we do not have a PE field or track, and those programs are certainly hindered by those needs. But, we are fitting in our building as a whole, yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I also want to just thank you and Mr. Exner and everybody who worked on this. I feel like I've done this twice before, but maybe only once because, I don't know, time gets weird. But it's never been this complete and clear. And so I really appreciate all that of the work that went into behind the scenes what we're seeing today. So thank you all for that.
Board Member Heffron.
Thank you, President Abeyta. Principal Morgan, I would like to congratulate you because according to the research and conversations I've had, you created a couple of years ago flexible learning days. And that was a result of you and others paying attention to the teacher workload and trying to figure out how to de-stress both teachers and students, as I recall. You did an investigation, in other words, with teachers and students. You built strengths of relationships between them so that you could build a better relational existence and create a more collaborative environment. If you could comment on what you've learned from that, because I thought a flexible learning day concept could be invoked perhaps in other schools.
Thank you for the question, Board Member Heffron. So you're exactly right. In the 2021-2022 school year, which was our full in-person return following the pandemic, things were different. And it was my most difficult year in education, and I feel like for many of our staff and our students and our families, it was for them also. And so following that year, it was kind of a step back and reflect on, what can we continue to do in terms of the way things had always been done at ATC and what needs to change. And through that process of a committee, a voluntary committee of teachers and students and administrative staff, we really embarked on a almost year-long conversation that following year around what's missing, what needs to happen. And the relational piece was what I think rose to the surface as most crucial. We had always been a school that fostered really close relationships among students and faculty, both in and out of the classroom with clubs and activities. And it was all just kind of feeling like too much, I think. And so, through that, we shifted from kind of like a traditional straight 6 bell schedule to a modified block. And within that, speaking of out of school time, we saw that a number of the programs we had built through the extended learning time program funding that PED had offered for a few years, because by virtue of being after school, there were barriers to students participating. And then the other thing that we saw was, like, during lunchtime is when all of these teachers and students would try to do all that other stuff, right? The NHS and the natural helpers and the WAVE and the, this club and that club. And, lunch, which should be a moment in the day where people can breathe, was a moment when they were just running around like crazy. And so the basic concept of the flexible learning time block in our school day schedule is for 45 minutes, 4 days a week at the end of the day. We shift from the academic program to co-curricular programs. All of these clubs now meet during then. It's also the time when our faculty are afforded an opportunity to provide extra tutoring to struggling learners, especially with that AP for All mission. The opportunity to identify exactly which students aren't mastering that content and skills, and they can both sign up or be signed up by those teachers to come to their tutoring session. And so it all just kind of works together in this, fun, crazy thing that happens at the end of the day called flex time. I think by my count over the fall semester, like, there are 60 different things kids can do in that 45-minute block 4 days a week. And it's everything from knitting to pickleball to watching nature documentaries to community service, human rights, HOSA, STEM Club, who are working on like the projects for the New Mexico Governor STEM Challenge. All that stuff just kind of happens in that time of day. And I think we're really just sort of scratching the surface of its potential to foster those relationships that seem to be very sort of broken following the pandemic. And so, we really hoped to just sort of rebuild the community through that time and that activity.
I have another question for you, Principal, and that is, you have dual credit courses that you offer. Who are you offering those with? Is this with Santa Fe Community College?
We currently have dual credit agreements with Santa Fe Community College, the Institute of American Indian Arts, which is
right across the street,
absolutely wonderful neighbors right across the street, and UNM Los Alamos.
And UNM, all right. Yeah. And I think I would be remiss if I didn't bring up my last question, which is spooky senior celebration. I'd like to applaud you for having such an idea.
Well, it was an idea of our current school counselor. It was something that she sort of imported from her previous school. And yeah, we celebrate all of the seniors that completed early decision, early action applications. Yeah, it's a nice event where they come together with the parents and have some food and some fun.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion regarding the charter renewal application for ATC?
I move approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
President Abeyta, I want to thank Mr. Exner, the team that really helped work with ATC in general, and Principal Morgan. I think one of the things that we've tried to do is be more inclusive of ATC, and that is even when the New Mexico Highlands new president came in, inviting Jason to come over and meet as well. So we're trying to continue to develop a really robust and positive relationship.
Thank you. Okay, so our next action item is 8B, HB 171, locally designated graduation credits.
Thank you, Board President Abeyta, members of the board. Taking us through the presentation tonight is Deputy Superintendent Vanessa Romero, and also Principal Jamie Holliday, who is the directing principal for Capitol High. I've been able to work with her now 5 or 6 years, something like that, in previous position and current. And so, it's wonderful to have a great leader at Capitol High They are showing great growth, not only in student outcomes, but also in graduation rates. So we're very, very pleased with the work going on over there. So as you know, as we announced at the last board meeting, this is something that's required of all school districts. We'll go through some of the key highlights real quick. Graduation credit requirements still remain at 24, not only for the state, but also Santa Fe Public Schools. House Bill 171, what that did is it had a prescripted or prescribed 22 credits. And so we will go into the 2 locally determined units for graduation. Again, there's an emphasis across the board, as you can see, of where it could fall. It was, great effort between Deputy Superintendent Romero, her staff, and also all of our high school principals. So we were inclusive of all of our high school principals, and we were able to also provide a survey for staff, students, and parents. So again, this isn't something we just determined on our own. This is something that was done collaboratively. As you can see, 24 credits, 4 in English still, 4 in math. Now the difference there is that Algebra 2 is no longer required. However, we will continue to offer Algebra 2. So it's not going away, we're not eliminating, but according to House Bill 171, Algebra 2 is not required for graduation any longer. 3 units of science, 4 units of social studies, 1 of PE, half a unit of health, and also 5.5 of electives. So we'll want to point this out because we've been talking about what the master schedule is going to look like for incoming freshmen for next year. So again, I think they'll go through this a little later, but this is it starts with the incoming freshmen for school year 25-26, okay? We're going to have to monitor and track because we're going to have 2 different pathways. Any freshman that is sophomore or junior that is currently enrolled at a high school follows the current requirements. Incoming freshmen next year will have to follow these new requirements. So we've already been talking about how we're going to build out a master schedule, how some of these half credits are going to look. It's going to be a work in progress, but the nice thing is it will be a slow transition because we have to plan for only 1 class next year.
Great. Thank you, President DeBata, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. Tonight we come for your approval for the recommendations, and we'll talk about the process that we went through to get these recommendations from staff. We will ensure that the courses are aligned to state standards and, of course, state course codes, and we will develop any training or professional development if needed once we provide our recommendation to you. And then, of course, we'd monitor and continually have discussions and go over whether or not it's working. Once again, the House bill was a way to promote alignment with the local community and our needs, to honor stakeholder feedback, and to allow school boards to enhance student readiness for their life beyond high school. And of course, the options must meet state academic standards and support graduate profiles. And of course, we have our attributes of a graduate. We currently have advisory and classes where kids look at career paths during advisory. I'm going to let Jamie speak to this, but just an overview. We, I think over the past couple of months, we've been meeting several times with the principals to talk about this particular bill, and Ms. Holliday was so gracious and developed a survey for the entire team, so for all of our high schools to send out to their families, to their teachers, and students to get their feedback. And with that, the top 2 recommendations were, of course, seminar, so building foundational skills for high school success, as well as financial literacy. And with that, I am turning it over to the expert who's on the ground and can speak more to the process.
Yeah, so initially we started a conversation amongst site leadership and then district leadership on what our initial thoughts were in terms of which courses we thought would best honor the intent of House Bill 171. And in part of that conversation, and all full transparency, thank goodness that the things that I thought were good ideas, the public also thought were good ideas. We felt like it was important to think about what would align with the district priorities as well as preparing our students for life after high school, and not just like check, this is the easiest course to implement as a district mandate. Based on our initial discussions, we felt like it was important to survey our students, our staff, and then our parents, our school community. So we sent that out through Remind as well as direct emails in order to elicit their input. So seminar, the intent of seminar, 3 of the schools currently offer seminar is to help students be successful in their current studies as well as prepare them for post-secondary. It's already aligned. It's a PED approved course for elective credit. So if the district does approve, and if you all do approve of seminar as one of the district mandates, it wouldn't dramatically change course offerings or our scheduling at the majority of the schools because it's already happening. And the beauty of that, again, is it's helping to build a strong foundation where students build off of as they explore what they're going to do after high school. Similarly, financial literacy is already being offered at our schools. It's math credit, could be elective credit though, which I think it's important for you guys to know when we're thinking about our students that are wanting to go to competitive colleges. One of our seniors just got word that she's accepted to Stanford, right? Yay, and she needs more than financial lit to be prepared for Stanford math, right? So a student who may be topping out in AP Calc in terms of math would take financial literacy as an elective. And so there is wiggle room within it, and it does fall within that 24 credit requirement. And this, as a high school principal, it's applying those math skills to real life when you are an adult and you have bills to pay and you're wanting to start your own business. These are the skills that will help you to be successful.
I just want to add before we move on, Principal Holliday, point out a couple of things. As you can see, seminars already offered at 3 of the 4. Santa Fe High was already planning to launch it next school year. And financial literacy is being offered as a year-long course across the district currently. So there's not a big impact, as Principal Holliday said, to staffing or the master schedule. We will have to make some adjustments as we move forward, but it really doesn't do a lot of harm to the way we currently offer our classes.
And I think what's most important to highlight is these are the 2 courses that really stood out in terms of our stakeholder feedback, as well as the discussions that we've had as administrators in terms of what we think would be best for our students. And so it really shows that alignment in the values that we hold, as well as the values of our community, including students. Students are saying financial literacy. Students are saying seminar. So our students are seeing the value in these courses as well. Again, it prepares them for life after high school, as well as helping them to be successful in their high school studies. I mean, I can just keep going if you want. I'll keep going. Yeah. So overview of seminar. It focuses on time management, study skills, goal setting, career exploration, and then organizational skills. Within that, there is a component of Socratic seminar and collaborative study groups. And so again, seminar is currently being offered at my school, Mandela, and then Eco and Desert Sage. And it is elective credit, already aligned to standards and approved by PED. And then financial literacy, same thing, it's already being taught. It's aligned to math Common Core standards for math credit, but could be elective credit for students who have met math through other math courses. It would be a year-long course. And again, it focuses on applying those algebraic skills to real-life structures. Is this me still or you? Let's see. Oh, you can. Well, go ahead. I'll keep going. I'm a chatter. So I think
She is. I can verify.
I am.
I
I
can
know.
verify
Yeah,
that.
it's a lot. Although at first we're like, this seems weird, HB 171. It really is empowering, and I think it will allow you, the board, us as a district, to really be responsive to the needs of our community, while also thinking about what are the skills that are going to prepare our students for life after high school, whether it's college, career, military. And so by gathering the feedback from multiple stakeholder groups, as well as discussing internally what makes the most sense given the structures of our high schools, we are hoping that you will approve these 2 courses.
Thank you. Questions, comments from the board? Dr. Gonzalez.
Mr. President, I'm just curious, you say it's a math credit, so is it a math course with financial literacy embedded in it, or is it a financial literacy class?
Yeah, it's for math credit. It is a math course. The title is Financial Literacy, and when we look at the PED alignment, it's Common Core New Mexico State math standards that are taught through the lens of financial literacy.
But if they have all their math credits, then they can take this as a elective?
Correct.
Yeah. And we see that sometimes with students, when you think about how the state requires 3 science credits, but a student who they are planning on going to college to focus on a science career, they're going to take a 4th science. They already have their science, so then it counts as an elective.
Other comments, questions? Vice President Noble.
Thank you very much. So one of the things, I'm partly just wondering, what changed? We lost Algebra 2. What else? What other was the other graduation requirement that changed?
Great question, Vice President Noble. What happened is they included New Mexico history in U.S. history now. So New Mexico history is no longer a standalone. It's embedded within. That's something we've been discussing over the last few weeks on whether or not we want to continue to offer New Mexico history as a standalone. So again, that's something that we'll discuss over the next few years, because this is an ongoing process that we're continuing to kind of unwind. We've had Mr. Granada and Beata with us looking through the House bill, watching other board meetings, but this is something that it's very nice that it takes only 1 year, right? Next year is only for the freshmen. But we think, as we were talking, I think it was this week, what courses freshmen would take, it would be very similar to the courses they're taking now. But it is New Mexico history, and Beata or Josh, do you remember the other piece that they pulled out? Well, Algebra 2.
Thank you. That's very helpful. And would love to know where you land on that, because it does seem problematic to eliminate New Mexico history, or just...
We've talked about that. It's very problematic. There's also topics within New Mexico history currently that are not going to be covered in U.S. history. So that was a discussion that we've had, and that's why we've kept that on the table as a potential course to keep within our offerings.
As a matter of course, I believe the board needs to approve these locally selected credits. And I know we don't want to, for all of the reasons you're saying, keep changing them around, but is there any restriction on that? How do we view this as now and forever? How do you look at the sort of review process of if these are good choices?
And I didn't read that in the bill. This is ongoing, even for other districts. Everybody's trying to figure it out. One of the things that we found out by the elimination of New Mexico history, it put kind of a problem in front of the principals to create a half-credit elective, because as you can see, it's 5.5 credits. So again, we're still struggling on to how to build a master schedule out, but even I think that would be a good question that we could ask PED. Can we maybe renew it? Can we adopt a new course if one of them is not working? So I think the possibility is there. We just need confirmation from the state.
Thank you.
Yes, Board Member Bozay.
Thank you, President Abeyta. I think Vice President Noble hinted at one of my questions, or maybe asked it, which was, can these be changed if or when, district priorities change, or if these aren't working, we're going to continually evaluate things. So I just want to make sure that that's clear for everyone as we move forward.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll continue to evaluate. The nice thing about both courses is we have data, so these are not new courses that we're adding. You know, one of the things that Capital does very well is Seminar or Avid, and it really puts them on a great course to meet graduation requirements. They offer financial literacy, so it's very unique to be in a place where we have data and we have historical information on students or their success as they're taking these classes.
Thank you. And then my other questions focus primarily around Seminar because it's not really something that I'm familiar with. It sounds like it might make sense for students to take this in the 9th grade if it's setting them up for success in high school. Is there a plan about how and when that will happen?
Yeah, and I can let the Principal Holliday answer. The plan is as freshmen. Okay. We want to make sure that they have those foundational skills so they can be successful for their sophomore, junior, and senior years. Now, the one thing we've talked about is what happens when we have down the road, multiple years down the road, an individual that transfers in and their district has adopted something else. How does that look? So that's one of the reasons why we did not call it freshman seminar. We only called it seminar. We wanted to make sure that moving forward, if a junior needed it, then it was offered to a junior. Again, that's something we're going to have to go through when we review transcripts and what other districts are adopting. But again, I think this is just something we're going to have to be fluid with and flexible with over the next few years.
Thank you. And then my last question about Seminar. As people who have seen this in other schools, is there an opportunity, as there are in other classes, to kind of individualize this learning? You know, if a student is well-adjusted and thriving in high school and, you know, maybe kind of academically advanced and doesn't, you know, need the same kind of focus that maybe the vast majority of students do, is there an opportunity for them to still benefit from this requirement?
Absolutely. In our current implementation of Seminar, it's essentially like an Avid Light course because students, you know, they apply for the Avid program. And we realized, there's freshmen that they need some skills for how to be a high school student, and they do not want to be an Avid, and that's okay. And so that's when we originally developed Freshman Seminar. But as part of the structure of it, the individual goal setting is very individualized. And so the needs of one student may be very, very different from the needs of another student. And so as they are working towards those goals throughout the week, it's going to look different from student to student. Although generally there are trends, maybe like there's a math test coming up and the majority of students want to focus on their study time on math. Another student may be like, nah, that's not my problem. And so then they would focus on the area that's tied to their goal.
Okay.
And I would also say like the Socratic Seminar and Collaborative Study Group components of Seminar, that's higher level thinking. So even if you were gifted straight A student, you're going to benefit from working on those skills.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Board Member Hepburn.
Thank you, President Abeyta. Having been an avid tutor at Capital and Santa Fe High and Milagro briefly, I would like to applaud your approach to mimicking that with this seminar. My real questions, though, are, please clarify, I am next year as an incoming freshman taking the seminar and taking a year-long financial literacy class.
Such a good question, and no. So we would integrate that financial literacy senior year because we're wanting students to apply the math skills that they've learned in Algebra 1 in financial literacy down the road. So students would not take the financial literacy their first year. They would take it after they've taken more basic math courses.
There are other basic math requirements.
Correct. And
all right.
May I add, you know, what we've seen as far as financial literacy, all classes are full and all have a waiting list. It is really an in-demand course across the district. We're not going to offer, as Principal Holliday mentioned, it for freshmen. You know, they have other requirements. Mm-hmm. However, Seminar will be. That's that foundational piece that they need to be successful moving through high school. The nice thing, again, as we said, we already have financial lit offered across the district, so it's not going to have a big impact on scheduling or even staffing.
So it also means that these incoming students next year will be seniors by the time they take a year-long financial literacy class.
Yeah,
should they
juniors
choose
or
to do that.
seniors, yeah.
Okay. And therefore, this next coming year as well, incoming sophomores, juniors, and seniors not impacted by this, they'll still be able to take financial literacy based within the ongoing classes that is now offered. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Correct.
So that doesn't get eliminated.
Correct.
And does that get eliminated once we get into a year-long requirement, like 3-4 years down the road here?
No, the shift that we may see is an increase in students that are, well, there definitely would be an increase in course offerings for the financial literacy, because then we'll get to the point where all seniors are taking financial lit unless they took it their junior year. So there would be the shift in that component of our master schedule. So we may see less applied math, for example, but it's still math. And the beauty of when PED does changes, it is always based on cohort, right? So back in the day, pre-algebra was permissible for math credit. Then PED said, no, no more. So then you just follow that cohort group out, and then you introduce. So you're slowly integrating and weaving in the changes and just keeping track based on when did this student start high school. These are their requirements.
Yep. And if I could just add, currently, for all high school age students, financial lit and seminar are considered elective courses. What we're doing tonight is they're going to be required for incoming freshmen. So that's the only switch. Even though we're offering it currently, both classes, right now it's an elective, and next year for incoming freshmen, it'll be a requirement.
But it's my understanding that this elective is embedded in another class. Financial literacy is not a class unto itself. It is? In all of our schools?
It is.
Yeah.
Thank you. Boy, have I got a lot to learn. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Can I have a motion?
President Abeyta?
Board Member
I
Jose.
move to approve the suggestions for locally designated graduation credits as required by HB 171 to be financial literacy and seminar.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Okay, so that brings us to our consent items. There are 9 of them. Is there anything that needs clarification or questions or to be pulled off consent?
President Abeyta, could we vote separately on the November 14th minutes, as I was not present?
Yes. So can I have a motion to approve the other 8 items under consent?
I'll move approval of the consent agenda, items 1 through 8.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so item 9 are the minutes for November 14th, 2024 regular meeting, December 14th, 2024 special meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move approval.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
I'm abstaining.
No one opposed and 1 abstaining. Okay, so the minutes are approved. We are on to advanced planning. So we do have a legislative breakfast on the 9th, still at 8 a.m., and we'll be here. Okay? And then our next board meeting will be January 16th.
President Abeyta,
Yes.
I'm really sorry. I got thrown off by the board discussion and possible action being out of order.
Oh, okay. Do you want to go back to that and bring something up?
I would just like to ask for us to look at something at our January meeting, if it pleases the board. And that is the resolution from 2016-2017-4, which is a resolution reconfirming Santa Fe Public Schools as sanctuary schools. I think we need to make some changes to that, but it's as relevant now as it was back then. So I'm happy to work with the superintendent or staff, if that pleases the board, to review that and reaffirm that at our first January meeting.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so if there's nothing else on advanced planning, then we are adjourned. Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.